If I knew as an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, that an Indonesian drag queen, half Asian, who grew up like me, was somehow gonna come to New York City and be a beautiful crossdresser dancing around stage, what? You don't think of that. When I think of my queerness, I don't think of just someone in Jakarta watching me on her phone. I think of probably the 10-year-old kid who's back in the middle of Jawa Timur and he has to hide that he's queer because he doesn't know. And so his whole thing, he's going to marry somebody and don't realize that he has a whole life ahead of him. Or the young girl who is hiding from her dad that she likes girls. And I know that what I can do and be showcase visibility internationally to the point where I can end up on local media in Indonesia and someone sees that someone like me can exist, could do something, and for them to inspire in their own local communities. It's not about just going to spaces and being it bigger, but how about going into spaces that you don't realize need someone like me to exist?
Hi everyone, my name is Stephen Wakabayashi and you're listening to Yellow Glitter, perspectives from queer Asian creatives and changemakers making an impact. This episode we're joined by an extra special guest, Kekoa. Kekoa is a unique drag artist hailing from a faraway place that she'll tell you all about in our episode. This performer hails from the islands of Indonesia and is known for their powerful performance style and ability to use both hands at the same time. With a wide variety of accolades and awards which do not translate into American English, because in her words, it's still the wrong English. Here to bring a new sensation to the drag experience and remind you of the importance of knowing the second verse, it's Kekoa. Welcome.
Hi, what's up, everybody? It's the person who knows the second verse.
Glad to have you. And tell me the story about that. Why is the second verse important to you?
Because I am a professional and a professional knows what they're doing.
Did you forget the second verse before?
Oh, yes, I have. I did. I forgot the fourth one and the first one too. And that is when I'm dancing.
Yes. And they do, when I moved into New York first, like 12 some years ago, they would do these, what is it? When they play all these random songs at the same time and you just have to.
Who that? The drag
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
You have to just know it.
Oh, wait, that is, we always do a drag roulette and you said a New York City staple. And I find it is drag 101 for working as a performer. Like you got no matter what, I've had numbers where I'm like, do I know the song? No, but I will pretend like I know the song. And to your eyes, it's as if I sing the song. And you know what? I probably did.
You've got to entertain. And
but listen, it's so difficult being a singer, songwriter, model, actress, politician, doctor, lawyer. It's really difficult to be all those things and then still wear good lips.
Exactly. And you look amazing today. And I just want to ask, what's inspiring today? What's coming up for you?
So today's look was I just really wanted to do like something drag and colorful. And I was like, I haven't done a brown in a minute. I wanted to do like this blue into green and then yellow and like kind of look like parrot. I was like, I feel this new way like so that's why, hence this, but without the feathers, because I don't let animals inside my house. Well, I do, but probably they pay for it.
Yes. Or they make you money.
They better be making me money, Jesus. They haven't given me rent. Perhaps when we were kids.
Yeah. Wait, always a bird person? You like birds? How many birds do you have?
Now listen, yeah, I've actually really into ornithology. When I was a kid, I was really into the study of ornithology and birds. So like I'm actually really into birds.
Oh, really? Wait, I had no idea. This is not in our show notes.
Like I could talk to you about like secretary birds. I could talk to you about vultures, like MP fishers. Like I will talk to you about like ornithology.
Okay, wait. One question I have to ask, and then we'll get into the show. Favorite bird, why?
Secretary bird. It is the most powerful snake killer with most beautiful legs. The colors are gorgeous, and they have stunning lashes.
Okay, you heard it here, folks. Snake bird. Okay, so let's get into the episode. So, tell me about Kekoa childhood and just what you came to be. Tell me about the journey. I want to first start all the way in the beginning and bring me back there. from Indonesia, growing up there, before you got into drag, what was it like?
So I remember when I first came to the birth canal, I saw a light and I was just like, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. And then it popped out and I saw it and I was like, oh shit, I'm covered in blood. That's crazy. And hence then, train of thought happened. So I was born to a lovely couple by the name of Daniel and Deborah Iskandar. They are currently still living in Jakarta. I was born and raised in Jakarta, Indonesia. I know, wild, but I was. My mother is American. My father is Chinese Indonesian. And my mother is Baptist. My dad is Catholic. I grew up going to public school in a Muslim country as a queer RC kid. And I want to emphasize, I wasn't just a faggot. I was an RC faggot, which means I had double the no friends.
And how was that? Yeah.
You know what? I'm still pretty today, so there's that.
But tell me, what was that like? Like growing up with parents who were very religious, it seems like, right? Like, and especially in a Muslim country, but they weren't Muslim themselves. Like,
No, they were.
yeah, what was that like?
I guess the best way to describe it is it taught me a lot of different things. It taught me different perspectives. It taught me how to handle things. And it also, maybe sad as it is, taught me how to be an adult from a early on age and just be like, I'm kind of going to be on my own and I'm going to be on my own for a while. Not everybody's going to understand me. Not everybody's going to understand my journey, who I am. And it's also not for them to understand at this point because everyone's a human being trying to go do their own thing. That's okay. But definitely growing up, it definitely taught me a lot. I think as a kid, you don't understand. I didn't understand, especially like, I guess like why I was not accepted for the longest time. And then I quickly learned early on that it was never about me necessarily. It was just everybody else kind of grew up with what's around them and they just are comfortable with things that they don't understand. And so luckily enough, as a kid, I was like, okay, I knew I was going to be art. I knew I was gay. I knew I was going to have different experiences. And I especially knew that my childhood experience was not going to be something that I would hold on to, if that makes sense. I learned that like as a kid that just like, this is only temporary. As soon as I become an adult or turn legally 18, that's when I can become who I am. So growing up through that point was probably just a lot of just like survival and biding time to build up to where I am today.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you're a very mature kid growing up. And I'm just curious to even get to that point. Was there any formulative, like you were in the arts or just, was there anything that you consumed growing up that helped you better understand that? I mean, even for myself, like I can't even remember as a childhood that I knew there was a world beyond me or that, seeing people and this violence and this hatred sometimes they would spew out was little to do with me. Actually, it's like not even until like after high school and then I figured it out. I'm just curious, like growing up, like what gave you such a level head?
Because I knew it would be temporary. I learned very early on in life, that nothing is ever going to be permanent in your life. Nothing is ever going to be, may sound sad, nothing is ever going to impact you the way it does. I think I've also learned that just not to give meaning to things that don't really just need a meaning to them. I sat detached in a way. It was a survival method, but it taught me to just like take a step back and be like, this is not about me or this is not even about the only thing I can control is how I react. That is the only thing I can ever control. So I just had to learn the only way I could move on is how I react to things, how I absorb things, and how I was going to move forward with my life and whether I was going to let my experiences define me or not. And I decided growing up and after the experiences that I've had and seeing people portray victims to those experiences, I said to myself, I was never going to be that. I was never going to be someone who played victim. I was never going to be someone who hated myself. And I was never going to be someone who when they had the opportunity to think that just like you would define me.
Wow. So growing up and identity, finding your queer identity, when did that happen? Was it something, there was like an experience in particular, something
I knew I was gay.
I
knew I was gay since I was a kid. Oh my God. I remember, the first actual moment where I was like, I knew I liked boys. Ricky Martin came on Channel V, which was music video TV channel at the time.
Yeah.
Living La Vida Loca. And it was like the music video was him, like the gold and the black shirt. Inside out. Live la vida look. And I was like,
Yeah.
I want to kiss him. I was a kid and I knew that. I was a kid. I knew that. I was 6 and 7. And I was
You're
like,
bothered. You're hot and bothered.
I was hot and bothered. I was hot and bothered. Again, I had to become an adult very early on. So I understood what those things were by that point. So I was like, yeah, this is me liking this man. And then I was like, and that it's point, she's like, oh yeah, I like boys. I don't like girls that way. Now I try to do like both, but we'll see. It depends on the day.
Interesting.
And there's actually that moment where I was like, oh, I like penis. And that was that.
Oh, he was hot. Oh, well, he looks great
Still
still.
hot. He's crazy. I'm like, I know I have no chance because like, I know, but like, he warrants.
He is still aging really well.
And he's actually like got his shit together. He's not like a total crazy like celebrity, which I'm like,
yeah. Well, he left the limelight for a bit.
Yeah.
And he kind of figured out stuff, right? Whereas some celebrities just literally like, you see them falling apart on camera.
I know. And he's like being a good father to his boys. And I'm just like, that's another thing.
I know.
Like, I don't want to be a stepmama. It's like, you know, I'm too pretty. Those kids would look at me and be like, you look too pretty. Like, I know.
Well, you're not going to be a stepmama because you're going to have your own, or are you going to not have it and not be domesticated? Like, what is...
I don't think my tubes work that way. So, and the reason I don't want to stepmama is because I just can't, right now at this point in life, I cannot imagine caring for someone in that capacity. Not because I'm not responsible. Like, I can babysit, I can watch those kids for a week or two, but trusting me with the life and help navigate that is questionable.
It's a lot. I
think people need to understand and realize themselves that they're not capable of having children and should not. And they don't want to admit. People need to understand, just because you love yourself and think you have good qualities does not mean raising children. Raising children is a specific skill. It is a skill. And it is a way of communication that not everybody is capable of. And so I do not think everybody should have access to parenting and caring kids. Very strong.
But you know what? I will put this nugget down there. The fact that you are aware of it and you have the understanding of that, I think would make you a better parent.
It'd make me a good auntie or uncle. The reason I don't think parents is because I don't want to take on the financial burden as well.
That's true. You see all those memes of like the rich auntie who just has her money to spend. I was like, that's actually nice.
Yeah. I'm like, listen, I will take you out to dinner when mommy needs a break, but I'm not paying for your tuition.
You heard it here, folks. We're not paying for that tuition. And that tuition is expensive now. College is so expensive now.
Right?
So just going back to the childhood and growing up, and some notes that I have, you went to military school.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you were artsy, you were finding your queer identity, and you're like, I need to get the F out of here. And you end up at military school. What was that like?
Let me preface to say that I've never been a good student. And I've never been one to...
Well, learning comes in different modalities, right?
Like I said, when we established, I don't like people telling me what to do. And that included teachers. So a very bad habit. I moved around a lot. School-wise, not like my parents would be. I got kicked out of school a lot because I have a habit of fighting my teachers. And it got to the point where I physically fought a teacher and then I was disinvited for the next year because I didn't want to make a scene that a teacher and a student were actually having a fist fight.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you ended up going to military school, and I mean, what was that like? Was it meant to set some discipline in you?
It was my parents' way of like, they don't know how to have a queer artsy kid they didn't know what to do. So they did what they thought everybody else was doing, was have someone else and maybe put some structure into me. Did not turn out that way. Within the year, I basically had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Just because like being on my own as a kid, or 13, 14, and just kind of like being thrown into an environment where they just don't know what to do. So we're going to let other people deal with that.
Yeah.
So then I was like, all right, this is real world. And I went to military school in Georgia in the South. So, and I went to a naval,
Yeah.
like army, it was Navy. So it was a lot more structured. It was much more
Wow.
like, it was like the army and the Navy are very different. Navy is the reason where like the Commodore were just like, if you don't hold still.
Yeah.
And so,
And was this your first introduction into what you saw as America and American culture and assimilation?
kind of like my mom, like I went back to the US a lot because my mom's from Alabama. So I like saw my cousins, but I only saw like a microcosm of like their life because I was only in America at the time, like a month at a time in my grandma's house. So it was a very extended bubble.
Yeah.
Now being thrown in with a bunch of American kids who are all like they're in military school in America for different reasons. So a badass kid for
I mean,
doing what you needed to do.
you were going through a lot. I mean, I just like even looking back, right? You were going through this life, finding this identity that, especially in a Muslim country with Christian parents, I can imagine the pressures that you were under and feeling kind of, it's like an out of body experience, but still living in this body and being told what to do. I'm just curious, like looking back, have you like taken a step back through your childhood in your memory and like talked yourself through it even, you know, because even like I just have so much empathy for that younger self. And to me, of course, you're going to be disobedient. Like this is your way of, right, fighting against all these pressures and things coming out. But I'm just curious.
I don't think I necessarily empathize with my younger self. I look at my younger self and I'm kind of like, and I experienced this and I look back at it and it's like, that shit was crazy. Don't wish it on anybody, anyone. I would not know how to explain my current life or how I got to there to my younger self other than just no one's going to get it.
Yeah.
And my experiences will just teach you to be early on. I guess like in the way I absorb that question is just like, what would I have to my younger self or say to my younger self? And the fact of the matter is, I don't know how to explain it other than I just had to. It was either survive life or let life take me. I've already been through phases where I'm like, I'm not going to try to kill myself again. We're not there anymore. You know, that's every queer experience. I feel like we've all had those moments where we're just like, and unfortunately, some people have experiences where it does end up successful. A lot of times it fails, luckily, and then we don't know what to do after that because nothing changes after that.
Yeah.
And then whole era of like being queer and what is my purpose in life and how do I navigate all this? And then it kind of dawned on me, especially like I feel like it was after military school and after the breakdown where I was like,
yeah,
life has no purpose. Life is not good. Life is just doesn't mean anything other than it is just what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and I just have to give my own self purpose and all I can rely on is myself and my own abilities and rely on that.
I mean, it got you where you are. So I'm following your timeline. You do the military school, you finish that out. And then when was it when you came to New York? Was it immediately after? Like, what does that timeline look like?
So after high school, I got into the new school, crazy enough. And then I studied fashion design because that was one of the things that I found comfort in. And when I was about 12, 13, my mother, this was before military school, like right before military school, my mother was working at an art company and she basically had a lot of friends. They invited her to a Jumbo Gautier show. And so my dad, growing up, he didn't like going to events. So me being the eldest son was always sent it. I got to represent the family. So I was a little kid going with my mom everywhere because I had to be little man and be like,
yeah,
it's so nice your son is here. And me, the 8-year-old, be like, hello, auntie, hello, uncle, good to see you. Yes, I know, just keeping my mom company. But second row of that show, it's right behind her because it comes to front row.
Why was she invited? Or like, was there a connection?
Yeah, my mom's a bit of a socialite, so she just had a bunch of friends with a bunch of connections, and they were like, "Come support me and this show that I'm." Her friend was like an event media manager, so she was like running the event. So that's why I went, and I learned two things.
Yeah,
what does it look like when you love what you do? And unfortunately, I'm stuck in this world of fashion, or fashion was a connection that I was going to have the rest of my life, whether I knew why or not. I just think that's what love looks like when you have passion. And this is the world that I was going to be absorbed in. And that was kind of it. I learned like what it means when you put your effort and love into something, and it doesn't have to be another person.
Mm-hmm. And so then you were inspired, you went to school, you graduated. Did you try going into the fashion industry?
A little bit. So when I was in LA, I was working for a bridal company and then working for a third-party manufacturing company before I moved back, where I got a job working for a boutique company. So I've had a couple, and then after that, I was doing production for a ready-to-wear company. So I've had a couple of different lives in fashion.
Did you like it? Did you not like it? Takeaways.
I would say that fashion is a very specific realm that you have to be committed to, or you have to have an interest in, like fully interested in. And it's not just an interest in fashion. You have to have an interest in the lifestyle of fashion. Ultimately, the lifestyle of fashion and the people in fashion were not ones that people that I wanted to associate with my whole life.
I mean, it's a tough industry. But let me ask, so drag as a persona and identity, when did you start dabbling in it? When did that show up?
It was in college. My drag mothers, Misty and Mocha, and Princess, which my auntie, they had a drag seminar in 2013. And they spent all day, it was from like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., 6 p.m. And they had like came in with their little Starbucks glasses. We were in a classroom, literally like going through videos. And then we went to Ricky and got makeup, and went to Kayla's shoe store and got like shoes. And then we were painting together. And then like we had performances at the end of the night. And that's when I learned that I was like,
that's amazing.
Drag is really cool. And secondly, this is the most incredible set of skills that you need in order to do this job.
Yeah.
Like, I must diversify a little bit. I do not see drag as my art.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, I know it was like, but it's so like aesthetic and all these things. Like, it's not my art. I don't view it as art. I see drag and all this as a skill. It's my sport. This is a series of skills that I learned to get better at. I think of it like hair, makeup, dancing, performance, communicating, being able to hold the mic, being able to like speak appropriately, think about the things. These are skills that I want to develop and practice more of. And that's what I like about drag and why I chose to do it, because I will enjoy these skills. I like getting better at these skills. And this was something that I could put all of them into.
Yeah. And drag for you, is it a persona or is this an extension of yourself?
It's a little bit of both, I would say. Because one, I don't have a drag name. Kekoa is my actual name.
That's amazing.
Well, I had a drag name, and then my drag mothers were like, your real name is prettier. And then I was like,
what was your name? What did you pick?
Okay. We had a couple lives. The very first name I ever had, when like in 2013, when they first met me, was Catch a Man. You got the joke already right there, right? Cool.
Yeah.
But Katya was because like it's spelled like Katya, Katya, but it was from Jennifer Love Hewitt movie called Confessions of a Sociopathic Social Climber, where she played this ad exec who uses everybody around her because she's a social climber sociopath.
Mm-hmm.
And she, of course, at the end, she falls in love and becomes a real human being. But like the entire storyline is just like,
you realize it's just human.
She bucked the dude in a bunny costume because she thought it was her ex and because she was bored.
Oh my God.
And she says, no, keep the bunny costume on. I took a video of it, hoping to send it to his girlfriend, hoping so she could blackmail him. And it wasn't even him.
Nuts.
And I'm like, what do? So at the time, that was my story. And then over time, I decided to, like, if I was going to go back to drag, I was going to be in. I-N. Like, who's she? She's in. Who's that? That's in. The queen. In. Chic, fun. Like, I thought it was a fun name. And then my drag mother's.
Oh.
You got it out. You got it out, right?
That's so like you went from basically one spectrum, which was the Paris Hilton of drag side. And then you're going complete like abstract conceptualization. And like, but what happened? What did your drag mother say?
Your name is prettier. And then also I thought about what I wanted my drag.
Yeah.
What my goals are with drag. Because if this is an industry or something that I was going to pursue in the long term, I got to have goals with the same as anybody else's job, right? You're not just doing a job and being like, every single day. You have goals you want to achieve. I want to make queer right happen across Asia. Specifically, I want to make pride happen in Indonesia. I want to make queer rights and human, like queer, actual like adoption rights, pure rights,
Mm-hmm.
and across Asia. That's people look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, I know I am crazy. I also put on my hair and makeup, and look where it got me. So
Mm,
now I'm like, I know that I can use this to kind of like showcase a different side of Asianness, a different side of different queer persona, and especially what intentionality. Not that's just like I'm the fun queer Asian person or like an artist or just pretty. I am intentional. I'm strong. I have a view set and a mindset that isn't about being the perfect Asian ambassador. I want to showcase the reality of being Asia is we're have a spectrum of things, and it's not always this beautiful, heightened version of history and traditions. Where modern Asia is kind of comedic and slapstick, and Indonesia is a corny ass country,
mm,
and there's things happening, and there's so much history, but also so many nuances and things in life that I'm like, I want to show more of that, the human side to people.
mm.
And this is the best way to describe that.
Yeah. And I'm wondering also with your Asian identity and leaving Indonesia, it seems now like this is a big part of your drag and a big motivation to leverage it for other people paving the way with your Asian identity. But was that always the case? Were you always a big proponent of my Asian background is going to be a part of this drag when you first started? Or has that shifted?
I would say yes, because I was always shamed growing up. So growing up, I was in Indonesia, there's a word called bule. Bule means foreigner / white person. And most half mixed kids in Indonesia will understand this because we've all had that nickname growing up. We're across the board. My siblings had it. Some of my friends had it. People I knew had. We're all called bule, even in school. So I wasn't even Kekoa. I was just bule.
Mm,
They'll call me that. And oftentimes I was shamed for it. I would be made fun of it. I was constantly reminded that I was not Asian enough. So a big part of my journey now is to prove that, like, I think it was to prove.
yeah.
And now it's my understanding of like, I am Asian enough because I have more Asian experiences on my own. No one can tell me my own experiences, tell me what I do. I know what I have to go through with life. I know who I have to talk to. I still have aunties who make fun of my weight when I go home.
Yeah.
If that's not Asian, I don't know what is. I get shamed for eating and I get shamed for not eating enough.
It's never perfect.
Never perfect. And of course, the first thing, because my aunties, oh my God, you gained weight, right?
How dare you?
Hi. Hi. But then within the first next 5 minutes, come to the kitchen, come eat.
Yeah.
It was a lot of that. And now I am an Asian. And now I can showcase the different side of myself. And people now see that. Like the Asian experience
Yeah.
is different. And I want people, you don't have to look like me, sound like me, act like me, think like me. But if you look at me and think, wow, they're kind of crazy. They're really Asian in their own way. I can do the same thing. Or even if I can motivate you to be like, she's not doing it right, I can do it better.
Yeah. And I'm curious, have you, while you're doing it here in New York City, faced any challenges
Oh yeah.
in doing drag? Yeah. What's come up for you?
Me and a lot of Asian queens have probably attest that there's so few shows that like include a show where it's not just one Asian person or
Yeah.
use another Asian person. When I first started, especially in New York City, I got confused for 3 other different drag queens to my face. Especially me and my other my friend Beijing, we have very similar, we have softer features. So, and there's similar way that we paint. I would say, and she's painted my face, so I protect things of her. People have constantly been like, "Oh my God, Beijing!" Oh my God, Kekoa, and to each other, and we're just like, "Oh my God, how many times this week did someone call you me or me you?"
Mm,
And then there were so many shows where I'm just like, an entire lineup, maybe one Asian person, which you will have so many of the other races involved. You will have them,
mm,
but only one Asian person. And then they'll be like, "Oh, it's not about that." Yes, it is. It is 100%. Because then Asian people in America, we are categorized into tokenism of whiteness, but also we still want to be put into this person of color box.
yeah. But also the Asian diaspora is so big, you know?
But how many times we must say this? Asia is so many fold, how many countries? You have more countries than probably any continent.
Yeah.
And historically and physically and features, traditions and cultures that are so different. You come to America, especially, you suddenly one of 3 things: Korean, Chinese or Filipino now.
Yeah.
That's in America today. That's what it is. That's just the reality. And when people look at me, they're just like, "Oh my, see my name." They're like, "Oh my god, your name's Hawaiian," and they look at me like, "Oh my god, you're Filipino because I'm Southeast Asian." Because there's no way that I could be Indonesian. And then I say I'm Indonesian, and like, "Oh wow, cool. Don't know much about it." And I'm like, "I know because most of them are uneducated, but because most people don't want to learn about the nuances of Asian cultures." And hopefully, in America now, with my shows, with my sisters, we've been able to like showcase variety of Asian people. Me and my sisters, Felicia and Kanika, we started a show called Red Lantern District because we saw this need of diverse Asian voices.
Yeah.
And especially a need in Brooklyn, in more rural, like just different areas that show a queer side of Asian people that's not just like with the Bowen Yangs or the Joel Kim Boosters, you know? And like just we wanted to showcase a very different side. And luckily within the past year, we've been able to do that. So
yeah. And I mean, speaking especially of these upcoming projects, I think one, I absolutely love the way in which you're uplifting different Asian identities. I really don't know any Indonesian drag queens, you know, and I'm just curious, especially when it comes to now looking at your heritage and your culture as a part of uplifting. How does that show up in particular? How has it been showing up?
it's been fun. So in Indonesia, like I started doing a lot of work in Indonesia. So I started in Jakarta, where I was working with a lot of traditional dancers, the Netherlands. So I was doing like traditional dances, and in that time, it was like yes, cross dressing, but it was considered a traditional art form because it was often that these traditional dancers were male. And then when I came back to Jakarta after that, I was working with a PR like events company. So I was doing a lot of like weddings, birthday parties, gigs. I wasn't doing bar scenes. And that's a big, I would say, like in Indonesia at the time when I was leaving, it was still a lot of us were either doing events or were part of a cabaret.
Yeah.
So like in Jogja, there was that I made that cabaret, which is burlesque, but also cross-dressing, as he puts it. So a lot of that. But now, since I've left, I just learned of this new drag bar to open in Jakarta. And I saw this one photo of like 11 Indonesian queens all in one photo. And I was like, there's 11 of you all in one photo doing a photo shoot.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But also, that's amazing.
That is amazing.
In the city like Jakarta, they found a way to have a bunch of drag shows. And it was a set for young performers to just come and do their art.
Yeah.
It's changing. Indonesia is opening up and understanding queer experiences and like what that looks like in today's society. And that's why I'm really happy to see like Indonesia is progressing. It has room. The only Indonesian queen that I had known of, other than the ones I was working back home, is Raja from RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah.
She won.
Yes. Yeah. You're right.
Thinking about Raja as well, when she won, she was Asian, but she wasn't she wasn't competing or working as an Asian queen. Is a sense. She's Asian, but that wasn't her identity.
Yeah.
She is just an amazing drag artist who just happens to be Asian as well.
Yeah.
And so seeing someone like her was just like her Asianness didn't define her, but she brought it with her everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what I was like understanding of just like, okay, I don't have to try to prove it anymore. It's already part of apparently what I do.
Yeah. Well, drag, I think, has progressed substantially, right? Back in the day, it was just who was the most beautiful. And I think we just got to a point where we're like,
beauty fades.
Yeah.
Boring.
Yes.
We like to look at it, but after 5 minutes, you're done looking at it.
Yeah.
Like you're not like as much, like even if you're watching the most beautiful study, I am not going to spend 5 minutes in understanding just staring at something. I'm not one of those people. You better be doing something. Please.
Yeah. Dancing, singing, splits, joke, comedy, make me laugh.
Okay. Drag queens. Please learn how to be on the mic. Learn to be on the mic. And I mean, as in, don't be mean to your audience. Don't be mean to people. Learn how to tell a joke without reading somebody.
Where do you feel like that comes from?
I think that comes from the old school way where drag queen always had to be respected. And so everybody found this idea of like, oh my God, she's really pretty. And she took something funny and witty. That's a read. That's a funny, ha ha. Oh my God, you're so funny. And I think there's also this queerness of self-hatred where when it kind of, and we're like slightly masochistic. And like when it comes from a drag queen who was this inherently this figure of queerness doing it back, they're like, oh my God, this is funny, haha, entertaining. But then like, if you're on the mic and you're just watching, if you were in the audience watching any entertainer, would you like it if someone came up to you and was just like, you look like that? That's crazy. You're ugly. Get out of my face. Buy me a drink. Would anybody like that? No. And I know some people think, that's funny or that's drag. No, it's not. That's just you trying to get away and make an excuse. I don't think it's an excuse to be mad, to be mean. I don't think of it as people want to make excuses like, this is the way things have always been. Great. That's what they were always done.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you like it?
Yeah.
And you want to continue it because it's always done or that's the way it is? No, because people are afraid to actually speak their mind or make change and ruffle feathers. When the fact of the matter is, you don't evolve unless you let out your outer shell. Understand that you got to be vulnerable and soft for a little bit and harden again. That was a whole lot.
I like the piece that you were saying where it's about this self-hatred, but also the self-hatred that is a part of society burdening us, right? It's the larger homophobia, anti-queerness, and we carry it for a long time, normalizing it. It comes out in this way. We put it out there. You also see it with even just gay men and how they talk to each other and the way body dysmorphia is normalized, right? You're just so disgusting to each other.
It's horrible. And then we want to preach that we love all bodies, positivities. Fantastic. Fantastic. Prove it. And it's like, no, I tell my friends all the time, I don't care. Prove it. Your body count says differently. The people you swipe right to says differently. The people around you says differently. People want to say anything. That's why I don't think anybody ever says anything. Seriously, your actions will always speak more than what you say. Words are just words.
I mean, there's so many ways to unpack this, but I'm just curious, is there something that has helped you? Because I do think a lot of us in the queer space, this is what is bestowed upon us, right? But is there something that worked for you to basically snap out of it and start thinking of ways that was more intentional, right? I think a lot of what you're saying, I mean, it seems like you matured really young, really quickly, but even the way that you're starting to, it's like sassy, but intentional. And I'm just curious, is there something that like really was helpful in you kind of becoming more aware, becoming more intentional, becoming more open-minded about some of these things?
I thought about who I wanted to be. And this goes back to a question probably about like who I want to be and was there anybody around me who was doing their life that I could look up to? There isn't. I've never been someone that's like, they're my idol, they're my icon. I follow them heartedly. I've never been someone where it's just like, that person inspired me so much. Because truth is, I learned that no one's ever going to inspire me the same way I will. Because the things that I want just aren't around.
Yeah.
I could either wait around for someone to do those things and then follow suit, or I could just do it just regardless of I know what I'm doing, but it's starting something. I guess like I stepped out of it because I realized that no one else was going to be able to make the changes that I wanted to be seen done. And no one else was going to do the things that I wanted to be done. Like, I don't like pushing meanness. I don't like seeing it on TV. I don't watch a whole lot of like the Traitors shows or these House of Villains shows.
Yeah.
I don't like that kind of personality around me. And I know people are like, oh, it's fun. It's funny. Great. I'm glad you enjoy it. It's just something I want to choose to act or surround myself with or absorb into my life. That's it. And I just knew because of growing up and being told that this was the norm and being force-fed that I have to normalize this in my life.
Yeah.
That because I am somehow unaware because I don't absorb these things. No, I think I just don't absorb them because I'm aware of what they are. And so that was it. It was just like, I just always had to know that who I wanted to be and the intentions that I want have to come from me and can only be done by me.
I mean, your reputation precedes itself. We were connected through Ty, who was also on the podcast and a dear friend.
Hi,
And
baby.
I was like, Kekoa is one of the nicest people. I was like, let me see about that. And I was like, oh my God, Ty, Kekoa is so nice.
These more than nice. I'm polite. Like I know how to communicate with people because I'm intentional and I know what I want to put out and I know what I want to receive, especially. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like, the fuck are you? I've always hated that girl. In any movie, I never found her appealing. No matter how beautiful you are, if I can see how ugly your heart is, I will never call you beautiful. And I just don't like that. And I want to be that. So yeah, I'm going to be nice to people. I'm polite to people. I treat people accordingly because I don't want anybody to do like that to me.
Yeah. I'm just curious. You mentioned maybe not a single person inspires you, but this work is hard. Like living in New York City is hard. All these expensive groceries is hard. All these things. And getting in the face is hard, And I'm just curious, is there anything that inspires your intrinsic self or motivates you to keep going?
It is just knowing that I can make pride happen. I know it's crazy. I think about Indonesia, what this could mean, what I would do, what I could do. And if someone like me was around when I was like a kid, I had no idea I was going to end up a drag queen. If I knew as an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, that an Indonesian drag queen, half Asian, who grew up like me was somehow going to come to New York City and be a beautiful crossdresser dancing around stage. What? You don't think of that. But then like, I also think about this in Indonesia, the outside of Jakarta and so many places in South Asia too, don't have access to media, don't have access to so many things that we as queer people in New York City and a lot of major cities have a privilege.
Yeah.
When I think of my queerness, I don't think of just like someone in Jakarta watching me on her phone. I think of like probably the 10-year-old kid who's back in the middle of Jawa Timur, who is at home and his parents, and he has to hide that he's queer because he doesn't know. And so his whole thing, he's going to marry somebody and don't realize that he has a whole life ahead of him. Or the young girl out in Sumatra who is hiding from her dad that she likes girls. It's those, and they don't have TV. They're because they're out in the forest or they're out in the rice fields or anything in these places that don't have access. And I know that if what I can do and be showcase visibility internationally to the point where I can end up on local media in Indonesia and someone sees that someone like me can exist, could do something, and for them to inspire in their own local communities. There is a drag queen I know, her name's Disco Amber. She just recently moved back to Wuhan, China. And she was telling me about we were talking about the scene and how there wasn't much of one. And we are talking about it. And I was like, at the end of the day, the scene is now existing because you're going back to start one.
Yeah.
And it's about being able to start one in spaces that we don't realize have possibility. It's not about just going to spaces and making it bigger, but how about going into spaces that you don't realize need someone like me to exist? So cliche, but other people do kind of like, it's the motivation that other people can have the same freedom that I do. That motivates me.
Yeah. And I have a 2-part question. What do you wish people, America or New York, but in the Western lens, knew more about queer communities outside? And maybe in your case, Indonesia, Jakarta, and then maybe the flip side. What do you wish folks from Indonesia, Jakarta knew more about queer communities outside of them?
I want the rest of the world to realize that queer communities, and we think about communities, are so much broader than we think. So I like to think of this quote. When I think of like, if 1% of the world liked you and 98% of the world, right now the world is 8 billion people. That's about like 88 million people or like 800, like to love you. I don't know that many people, do you?
Yeah.
That's a lot of communities within that that don't exist. I don't know you're around. I don't have love yet. So I have a lot of time to do that. So that's what I want, that the communities are bigger and that you can make more contribution locally than it seems. It's like you can make more impact by starting a lot smaller than it seems. And I want more Indonesians, especially, to understand that religion should not have a play in culture, in modern culture. Religion is something to believe in. It's something for personal spiritual growth, but it should not have a dictate in how you live, how you navigate with other people, and it should actually not navigate how you control other people. So I would love Indonesians to understand that religion is not a tool to be used against people, and also to open up themselves that the world is changing and we have to keep up. The world is going to turn. We keep saying the world is ending. The world is not going to end. We're going to end. Mother Nature is going to be fine. As soon as we're dead, she's going to reset. And then in 10 years, 15 million years again, it's going to be all over again.
Respawn. Yeah.
So it's like, if we're going to be the only impact in our lives, then we have to do something.
Yeah. And I'm just curious, is there any last note that you want listeners to take away with?
I would say everyone's journey is going to be different because the fact of the matter is we're all different writers with different books.
Mm.
We're not all writing a journal. Some of us are writing encyclopedias. Some of us are writing anthologies. Some of us are writing users' manuals. Everyone has a different perspective and a different way of seeing things, and we're going to absorb and put out information differently. Being able to separate yourself from that and being able to look at other people and realize we're all just, the only that connects us is that we're all having different things. The only consistency is inconsistency. And once you learn to absorb that into a lot of other aspects, things kind of make sense.
And I know we're coming towards the end, and here we have a few rapid fire questions. I have so many goosebumps right now just listening to our conversation. I see so much of what you resonate, how I feel like you live it, you're in it. And what I think is so beautiful in the beginning, you're just talking about this childhood that you had, and it's just being so rough. And I think it's so beautiful that you're really creating and ushering in a space that other baby Kekoas are going to have such a different life coming up then and now. And I'm just so grateful for folks like you just helping to pave the way. And it's just so powerful to see this cycle of positive change they're also sharing and uplifting.
I think of it this way. I don't want to pave nothing for nobody. I just have really big footsteps. And so whatever you see in front of you, if you want to follow it, go ahead. But my footsteps are just really big.
Yeah. Yeah. And so with that, some quick questions to follow the big footsteps. Something that's bringing you joy lately. What is it?
Ooh, I've been getting back into cooking again lately. So the other day, like again, I love to cook. That's why I talk about groceries all the time, because just last night I made my Japanese curry, and it was just I love cooking, and I was making my dashi, and after I tasted the broth, I was like, oh, this is gonna be so good. And I like to overload my curry with lots of carrots and potatoes. And last night I did a few green apples because I wanted to like a little bit of like a slight sourness to cancel out curryness, and it was like good because then I added some extra chili things on top, and I was like spicy and umami with a little hint of sourness at the end. It was just like that. And then lately, I really still have to cook. It makes me really happy.
That sounds good. Second question: what tip do you have for new queens starting out?
Be yourself. And I mean that as in like take a step back, because I think, especially with drag, there are so many layers to it, as in like there's makeup, hair, and then the persona you want to put out, how you want to view, how you want to perform. At the end of the day, drag is this is decoration. All of this is decoration. People will come back to you because of you. Like people come to me not because of just I look good, because I want to connect with them, because I want people to come to my shows and feel safe. And I think any queen getting into the scene should be like, what is your intention with drag, and what kind of feeling are you going to have people around you? Because I don't think girls are aware enough about like what kind of energy you're putting out and what you want to bring that in. Because they get caught up in like, you're so pretty. Let's go party together. Let's take a selfie together. You're so hot. You want to do a bumpiana? Let's go to Astor's app, and I love to perform. I love to create, but I like talking to people.
Yeah.
So be yourself. And when you learn that to be yourself and take it all back, you'll see where you fit into the drag realm, but more than anything, where you fit into life and how drag can be a part of your life.
Yeah. And what is something that's changed your perspective on something recently?
Ooh. Not be actually thinking about this because I'm usually pretty wearing more colors. I used to wear a lot of black. And one of my friends told me, she was like, you wear a lot of black. Are you depressed? And I'm like, no. She's like, then why you look like you're depressed all the time?
Wait, that's me. I wear too much.
Because I wear black all the time, even when I'm not in drag. And so, because when I first started, I had a very happy, dark aura. And it's just like, he was just like, you look so hot and sexy and it's great, but you need to wear more color. We're seeing you too much dark colors. I'm like, valid. So that's why I've been wearing a lot more colors.
You heard it here. You heard it here, New Yorkers. Wear more color.
More color. We love black, but black should not be, and black should be worn if it's going to be texturally smart. If you're going to wear all black, then I need to see different textures and shades of black. I can't just see one black sheen and be like, oh, that's kind of textures. Think about it. A human being is made of different textures. The texture of your teeth, texture of your eyeball, texture of your hair, texture of your skin, texture of your clothing around you. Human beings work because we're different textures and layers. What makes it any different when you look at anything aesthetically?
I love that. I'm gonna take that.
Right?
Textures. Yes.
Some people have dry lips, some people have moist lips.
Not a read, but
I like to from listen. I don't read. I'm not putting shit out of the air. It's just factual. I'm just pointing it out.
Some people are dry and some people are moist. Some people like talent and some people.
Some people are talented at this and some people are talented at that. And some people just don't have talents for these certain things. And that's okay. That's the diversity of life. We need people to be the examples.
Yes. And, I think what we've been seeing on this podcast, if people have been following, is just diversity of conversation, diversity of thought. And something I'm taking away from this is just, I think what you also exemplify so much of just being present, being in the moment. And I think you just have fun and you just have playful nature with all of it. So with that, I'm just so grateful you're sharing the space with me tonight. And I also have the dream and the vision for you with that pride, seeing everything that's happening in Asia, right? It's unprecedented.
Thailand, Korea, legalized
Thailand.
Korea, it is happening. It is happening. And guess what, Indonesia, and just for my Indonesian followers, we're gonna have pride in this lifetime, and I'm gonna be there because I'm gonna be in the front float.
Yes,
and it's gonna be a Sudirman, and we're all gonna have beautiful. And Indonesians will probably, if they ever watch this, be like, "You're crazy. You should not be saying this. You could get yourself killed." Guess what? Life has done worse. We're gonna have pride in Jakarta one day, and it's gonna be great.
It's going to be good. Lots of glitter. Lots of everything.
Oh, Indonesians are extra. They are extra. And one thing we'll do, if it is a big event, we will splurge on it. and you and I both know when queer people have an event where they can show off.
Yes. They will show up.
That's why I'm excited because I know Indonesians that we had Pride. Not only are the costumes going to be fantastic, it's going to be hot. Both the girls, the gays, and everyone in between is going to look so cunty because that's our standard.
I was here for it. And then as we're starting to wrap, any last note, any last takeaway, anything you want to leave our listeners with?
So I would say life is fun. And I know it's really difficult. And I could say it's easy for me to just say life is easy and fun, but life doesn't actually have meaning unless you give it meaning.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. It's like, I don't hear voices randomly telling me this is your purpose in life. Do you? No one does. No one hears a voice and is like, this is your purpose in life. No, that's a voice in your head. or a thought or a passion that you decided to pursue.
Yeah.
I've decided to do that because I like the skill set and I want to do things and I want to make opportunities for other people. And I would like spaces to exist where people like me can exist. That's my purpose because I gave it one.
Yeah. Well, Kekoa, thank you so much. This has been a
Thank you,
fabulous
David.
convo.
Much fun.
Yeah. We have to do it again and we have to hang again.
I want to plug it to top. Real quick, I do want to plug my baby Ty because we did not
Plug something. Yes. Oh, wait, I didn't even ask. Oh my God, I totally forgot. How can people find you? I'm going to plug this back in. How can people find you? How can people follow you? And what do you want to plug?
So speaking of our baby Ty, we have a show together called Slurp, which happens every second Tuesday at Boxers Chelsea. And you can also find us at Fresh Off the Brunch. Yes, Fresh Off the Brunch. Your all Asian brunch started by me and Ty and my sister, Alice Howells. I also have my party Red Lantern District, my sisters Felicia and Kalika. Our next one is going to be our Halloween special, which is really exciting. So hopefully by then it'll already have happened or probably around that same time. So that's really fun. You can also catch me oftentimes within the greater Williamsburg or Brooklyn area. My Instagram handles, by the way, I'm going to do this for everybody very slowly. It is Kekoa is. That is Kekoais. Yes, Kekoa is your favorite drag queen. And that is also on Venmo and Cash App as well.
That's a first. You know what? But put it down. Well, thank you so much. This has been great. And for those of you who are listening, hope you took away some wonderful nuggets and hope you have been enlightened by our conversation, because I definitely have. And with that, Kekoa, thank you so much. I hope to have you back soon.
Thank you, Steven. Bye, everybody. Make sure to figure out your favorite birds.
Thank you.